My name is Sarah. I am 27 years old, and I live in a relatively quiet city. I am not an athlete, but a few months ago, on the advice of my doctor, I decided to go for a short run every morning to reduce my anxiety. There is a fairly large old park near our house with a walking and jogging path. Most people prefer to go there in the evenings or afternoons, but I always go very early in the mornings, when the sun has not yet fully risen and the air is nice and cool. The first time I felt weird was 2 weeks ago. As usual, I had my headphones in my ears, and I ran slowly. I could not hear the sounds around me, but I had a strange feeling, a feeling that we have probably all experienced. Like someone is watching you. I stopped for a few moments, took my headphones, and turned around. No one was there. The path behind me was empty except for the sound of birds. I told myself that maybe I had watched too many horror movies. But that day, when I got home and took off my shoes, I noticed something stuck to the bottom of my shoe. A small piece of paper. It was written in red pen. "You run too slowly." My heart sank. I froze. What did he mean? A joke? Is someone watching me? I thought to myself, maybe a playful child had done something like that. But deep down, something told me that it was more serious. The next day, I decided to change my route. I ran to the other side of the park. In the middle of running, as I was passing through a dark, wooded area, I suddenly heard footsteps behind me. No, this time it was Clay. Someone was running behind me at the same rhythm. My breath caught to my throat, and I was afraid to turn back. I just increased my speed, and they increased their speed too. The sound was clear, the sound of shoes hitting the dirt and dry leaves. I dared to turn back. There was no one. The sound also stopped. I don't know how I got home. That night I just stayed in my room until nightfall. Something was happening. That night when I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water, I noticed something through the window facing the street. A person was standing right in front of our house under the streetlight. The same height, the same build, just standing, just looking. No movement, no sound. The power went out for a moment. When he came back, he was gone. I called the police. They said there was nothing they could do unless there was a direct threat. They just said to be careful. The next day, I decided to run slowly. But my damn curiosity got the better of me. This time I took pepper spray and my cell phone with me. I took the usual route, but everything was quiet. When I reached that part of the forest, on a tree that had been completely normal until yesterday, something was carved with a knife. "Did you run today? Didn't you miss me?" I felt sick. I sat there, unable to breathe. I called the police again and waved them off. The police took it more seriously this time. A few days later, they arrested a man nearby, a former homeless man with a mental health case. When they arrested him, they found a notebook in his tent with my name, the date and time of the run, and even photos of me taken by an unknown person. From that day on, I never ran alone again. Even when I'm walking down the street, I look behind me. And sometimes, when I'm running slowly, I still feel a pair of eyes watching me from behind the trees. My name is Maria. I'm not a morning person, but exercise is a way for me to escape from the hustle and bustle of my mind. I live in a small town with a relatively quiet environment. Towns whose silence is sometimes more frightening than loud noises. I've been going for a run every morning for almost 2 years. My route is familiar. I start from our house, pass by pine trees, and enter a narrow, paved road that runs through abandoned fields. It is almost always deserted. There are no houses around, just dirt, grass, and wind. For me, this solitude is a kind of peace, or maybe it was. The story began when, in early autumn, when the leaves had not yet turned yellow, I felt someone running with me. The first time I realized that I was on that narrow road. I usually put my phone on silent during this part of the run, because no one calls me at that time of day. I had my headphones on and was running towards the song when I heard it for a moment. Breath, breath. It seemed to be coming from behind me. The rhythm of the breaths was exactly in sync with my rhythm. It seemed somehow natural if someone was really behind me. But when I turned around, there was no one. The road behind me was empty. Not even a bird was flying. I told myself that maybe I was dreaming or maybe my voice was wrapped in the headphones. But from that day on, every time I reached that road, the sound repeated itself. Once I took off my headphones, I became completely silent and ran. And again, breath, breath. It didn't mean I turned around. I stopped. Not even my heartbeat could be heard. Just the wind. But when I started walking, the sound started again. It seemed like someone was running behind me at the same speed, with the same intensity of breathing, the same weight. And the scariest thing was that sometimes when I wasn't breathing, the sound was still there. I tried to ignore it for a while, but fear grows like mold in the back of your mind. One night, out of sheer curiosity, I searched the internet for the topic. I typed, false breaths when running, feeling like I'm being chased. A variety of things came up, mostly related to anxiety and fatigue. But one comment on an old forum caught my attention. If you hear someone who isn't there, maybe they are still there. You just can't see them. That night I dreamed I was running, but I couldn't stop. There was a shadow of someone behind me, breathing, but every time I turned around, there was nothing, just a rope around my neck. And then I woke up with severe shortness of breath. I stopped running for a few days, but my mind wouldn't let go. I felt like something was unfinished. One day, I saw a local man walking his dog on the side of the road. He said something that changed everything. He said, "You always run in the morning, don't you? Don't go too close to that corner, girl." Someone was strangled there. Years ago, there was a runner who never came home. I was shocked. Really? What happened? I asked. They say a psychic kidnapped her. Then a few weeks later, her body was found near the barberry bushes, strangled. Since then, some people say they can still hear her breathing. I haven't been that way since that day. But you know what's scarier? 2 weeks ago, in the middle of the night, I was driving down that same road. My windows were up, and there was no sound. But the moment I turned, suddenly a muffled voice came from behind me, right into the car. Breathing, breathing, breathing. I looked back. There was no one, just a faint mist on the rear window. It was like someone was sitting a few seconds before I turned around.